everyone. Welcome to the Stubborn Fool 2026 pre-race briefing. My name is Paula Waite. I'm one of the event directors for Stubborn Fool. My co-race director, Julie, is out in the field setting course for you and getting things all dialed in. So she's not on video today, but you will all see her tomorrow. I also want to give a big shout out to all of you who are making the trip to the Black River Falls area for this race. I know you have lots of choices about what events you attend, and we really appreciate that you're coming to our race. We kick off the Wisconsin Adventure Racing Series, and it's always a great spring race to get to see all of you. So thank you for being there, for making that trip. A couple other thank yous, volunteers. So we have Jess, Rodney, Miles, and KB who will be out on the course tomorrow taking pictures, doing some timings at the transition areas, welcoming you at registration tomorrow as you're checking in. I think I say this every year, but please remember to thank those folks who are giving up their weekend and have even taken a little bit of vacation time to be here. Remember that all the good stuff that happens out there, thank them for that. And if there's something that's going wrong tomorrow and you want to blame somebody, you can blame me for that. I'm the course designer, and so I'll take full credit for stuff that's not going your way tomorrow. Let me know about it. All right, a few other thank yous to some sponsors. First of all, not necessarily a sponsor, but big partner for us this year. Clark County has been fantastic about permitting and letting us use or rent the Bruce Mound Chalet, which is a really cool facility. I'm pretty excited about our headquarters location and hope that you all get to have time to hang out a bit after the race tomorrow and enjoy that space. Some other thank yous to sponsors. Boot Bananas, really pumped to have them part of our team. They sent a bunch of product to us, really cool inserts for shoes that will absorb moisture. There's some odor absorbers in there too, some that are good for travel. So, I think we trash our shoes pretty well as adventure racers. And so it's a really cool product. Our top teams in each division will take those home, and we might have some additional ones on the prize table for some other folks too. USARA, Wisconsin Adventure Racing Series, we're part of both of those series, which is great. You don't have to do anything to earn points in those series. You're automatically registered or entered into those series just by competing in this race. One thing I should mention about that, though, is make sure that as you're registering for future races that you use the same team name in the same division so that you can get credit for those. The matching or the points are given based on your team name, so just double check that. We've got MyTopo. I use them for a lot of our maps. Terrain Navigator Pro, Women of AR, partner pretty closely with them. You've probably seen some posts about that, and they've sent some swag along as well. Crawdaddy Outdoors, one of the Wisconsin Adventure Racing Series sponsors. Zanfell has been a longtime partner. And Wild Driftless Adventure Race as well is partnering with us this year. They have a race in October. Frank will be racing tomorrow. And I'm hoping to give not only Frank, but all of the Wisconsin Adventure Race Series race directors who are in attendance tomorrow a little bit of time with the microphone post-race tomorrow to share about their races, because I know if you're like me, after you finish a race, you're kind of like, what's next? Maybe not immediately, but the next couple of days, fired up to do another one. So those folks will be sharing about their races so that you can plan your next adventure. All right. Something new this year that I just want to call attention to is that USARA is now providing a special prize to the winner of various regional series. This is something new. So the Wisconsin Series is one of those USARA regional series, and the top co-ed team in the series will receive a $400 credit towards nationals in 2027. So kind of about a little more than a year out. One note about that is that only USARA sanctioned races count in that tally. So just something to be aware of. I'm not sure if everybody in the Wisconsin Series is sanctioned currently or not, but we'll get that dialed in soon. Okay, on to some race stuff. First of all, a few of you have asked me about being able to park at headquarters tonight to camp in your vehicles. No overnight parking at Bruce Mound. We were not permitted for overnight use. And in fact, the gates will be locked until shortly before 8 a.m. tomorrow. So just be aware of that. We will be there opening things up around 8 o'clock so that you can get in, get your car unloaded. And parked and unloaded, and then check-in and map distribution will start at 8:30. So I put this in the race update, but just be aware that we're expecting that you're going to take your bikes off the cars or out of your cars and stage those up by the chalet. There was a map in race update number 2. So just give yourself time for that, for unloading. The chalet and the parking lot aren't super close to each other. It's a few hundred meters, but just give yourself enough time for that. Before I get into more race stuff, just want to point out that I posted our rules for the race on our website. I recommend reading through those very carefully before you arrive so that you can save some time tomorrow. The first page of your race instructions is the rule set. So take your time, read through those today, tomorrow morning, so that you're familiar with them. I'm not going to highlight all of the rules, but I do want to highlight just a couple of things before I start talking a little bit more about details for tomorrow. First of all, this is a team sport. And so one of the biggest rules is to stay together. Now, I want to note that these are the rules for our race. Other races might have different rules. They might have different distances in terms of how close you must stay with your teammates. So just be aware, this is how our Stubborn Fool race rules are for this year. So you should travel together. Don't send a runner up to punch a CP while the rest of your team hangs out on the trail having snacks. You need to stay when you're on foot within 10 meters, which is really pretty close, like maybe 20 paces or so. So you need to be within 10 meters and within visual contact at all times when you're on foot. When you're on the bike, I realize that can stretch out a little bit more. And so on the bike, that is 30 meters and within visual contact at all times. There are penalties, stiff penalties, to be really honest about that, because I really take it seriously. I want you all traveling together and visiting all of the CPs. All team members must also check in at each checkpoint and TA together. So again, don't send a runner out to punch CP. If you see teams who are separated, please just remind them of that rule. I think sometimes we get racing and kind of forget. Don't be afraid to say something if you're noticing that somebody is not staying together. If it's flagrant, please let me know. And if I hear from a bunch of teams, that a particular team was really spread out, that's cheating, and we don't want that in this race. We want to maintain the integrity of the race, and it is a team sport. For those of you solos, you can separate from your alternate personality if you want to. Another rule, make sure that you are staying single file, especially on the pavement. This is really about safety. I know when we're racing, sometimes you need to stop and check the map. Make sure that you move off the road if you're stopping. I have you on a lot of secondary roads, maybe tertiary roads, gravel roads, where there's not going to be a lot of traffic, but some of those paved roads, there will be some car traffic. So just be really careful about that. Stay single file. If you have to stop, move off to the side of the road. There's a gravel shoulder that you can get off on the side pretty far. All right. That's it for the not fun stuff, right? Let's talk through tomorrow morning. And this is especially for new racers. My biggest tip for tomorrow is to arrive prepared. And I call that race ready, right? So that when you are there, your water bottles are full, or if you're using a Camelback or a bladder, that's full. It's ready to go. You have all your mandatory gear packed. You've got your food ready. When you arrive, you can unload your bikes and bring your bikes and your bike gear and everything that you need for the day up by the chalet and put those in the grassy area. You can absolutely go back to your car during the race. Can't go anywhere in your car, right? But you can go back to your car if you need to get something out. But I think that having the bikes up by the chalet is probably going to be best in terms of just kind of the race logistics. And it also makes it a little bit easier for us to watch equipment versus the parking lot's kind of down by the road. So I want to make sure that, folks' stuff is safe. Once you unload, come on up to the chalet. You can hang out in there, kind of get your space ready for planning. And at 8:30, we will hand out the maps and instructions for the race. They're all pre-plotted, so everything will be set there. You don't have to do any UTM plotting or anything like that. My recommendation, once you receive your course instructions in the map, is to read through the instructions, make sure you have all your maps, read through the clue sheet, and then find the CPs on the maps and highlight them. So you probably want to have highlighters, probably want to have a pen, and start planning your day. So find all of the CPs, kind of get a overall flow or understand the layout for the day, and then start planning. Keep in mind that we rank teams by the number of CPs obtained in then time. So the winner of the race is whoever has the most CPs in the least amount of time. If you're a new racer, I don't want to I don't want to be a jerk, right? Like, you're probably not going to win. But just be aware, like, there's a lot to this sport. And if you're getting half of the CPs and this is your first race, or you've gotten a handful of the CPs, that is a success. There's a lot going on in this sport, and just being out there, doing some navigation, getting on your bike, doing some trekking, that is a win. So don't come into this feeling like, oh, geez, I only got 5 CPs. That is a-okay. So do your best out there and just enjoy the day. As you're planning, you'll notice on the clue sheet that I have distances estimated for, a trekking section and the biking section. Those distances for the bike are if you obtain all of the checkpoints on that particular section or that particular leg. That's pretty accurate. It could be shorter if you change your distance or change, what you're going for in terms of the route. Could be longer if you take a different route than maybe what I anticipate. The distances for the trek are point to point. So that's like as the crow flies. And that probably will not be how you actually navigate. There's some trails out there that might be, a little windier, but maybe it's a nice handrail to stay on. So I really recommend measuring your distances, both on the bike and on the trek, as you're doing your planning, and consider, okay, how fast are we actually going to be moving and how many checkpoints can we really get? So just be aware that that's a part of the planning and part of the fun. Actually, I enjoy that part probably the most, is kind of laying out the day. Also important to note is that you will get a point. Checkpoints are all worth 1 point. You will get a point for getting to the various remote TAs. And by remote TA, I mean a transition area that is not headquarters. So let's say you bike off to transition area 1, you will get a checkpoint, a point, a bike point for getting to transition area 1, and so on. Let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything. For those of you who are new, I will be, for all of you, but especially for those who are new, I will be floating around, as will Julie, at check-in. So if you're looking at the maps and you're maybe wondering about how to plan the day, please feel free to ask questions. I will also have a pre-race meeting at 9:15, and I'll share any corrections, changes, clarifications, so that everyone has the same information. As of right now, I only know of one small change, and that change is just related to the code that is listed on for a particular CP or two. I think I flip-flopped 1 or 2. So no major changes, no major course changes. One thing I should have probably mentioned in the rule set is there are a couple of off-limits roads. I've done my best to mark those on the maps for you, but make sure you kind of X those out so that you don't travel along those off-limits roads. I think it's really clear on the maps, but it's really a safety concern. I rode on some of those roads, just kind of testing it out to see if we could use them. And when a big semi goes by, it is not fun. So we don't want anybody out on those bigger highways. So just make note of that and make sure you're not traveling on those. You can cross those roads. You will be crossing those roads, or maybe crossing those roads, but you shouldn't be traveling along them unless it's a section that's indicated where that is okay. I guess last thing about like kind of tomorrow and the planning, we're going to gather at about 9:50. So official race start time is 10 a.m. We're going to try to start just a touch early with the prologue, to make sure that we're actually officially started by 10 a.m. It'll be a mass start. 9:50 a.m. we'll line up for a photo, and I'll give prologue instructions. And as soon as we're feeling ready, we'll go. That means we might start at, say, 9:55, 9:57. the cutoff for the race will be 4 o'clock. So I'm considering the race running from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Everybody has those same start and finish times. If we start at 10:01, 10:02, cutoff for the race is still 4 o'clock. Remember that if you're late, for each minute late that you are, you'll lose checkpoints. So plan carefully to make sure that you're back in time and don't lose any checkpoints. Let's see. Back to the first race, folks. Really enjoy the day. This is such a great community. You're going to have great time in the woods. For everybody, know that you're going to make some mistakes out there. Teams who've been racing for 20 years, we make mistakes, and I think that probably is what keeps us coming back. Those bumps are really where the memories are made. So don't be too hard on yourself. You make a mistake, move on, and do the best you can. A little bit about the course. The course is big. Earlier this week, I mentioned to Julie that we'd need to use a few manual pin punches on a particular section of the course. I said, gosh, I don't have enough e-punch controls. And I kind of got the look, followed by, Paula, it's a 6-hour race. And she's right. But I have to tell you, there's just so much cool stuff in this area that I wanted you to see. I was really having a hard time cutting anything. So this morning, as Julie was going out to finish setting, I said, well, maybe we should pull a couple of points. And she said, no, this is good time management practice. So there, consider it good time management practice. I think last year and maybe the year before, we had a number of folks who finished in under 5 hours. I do not think that's going to be the case this year. So I don't want folks going in thinking, oh yeah, last year 10 teams cleared or 5 teams cleared and that's going to happen again. It's a big course, and I hate to say nobody's going to clear, but I think it's going to be tight. So plan ahead, understand what your pace is, and have a backup plan, stay flexible. You only have to get one trekking point and one bike point to be an official finisher, so keep that in mind. Let's see what else I've got here. Lots of cool bluffs out there. It's really beautiful on the trek. That said, along with cool bluffs are steep cliffs and areas that might not show up at, I have not marked the cliffs on the map, so I don't have orienteering maps. These are USGS topo maps with some additional information that I've placed onto those maps. So if you come into an area, you're going to know it's steep because the topo lines are close together, right? If you're coming into an area like that and it's a cliff, like I am not expecting anyone to do rock climbing. Don't attempt that stuff. If you move one side to the other a little bit, you're going to find easier terrain. So don't risk an injury. Don't climb on stuff. It's not rock climbing. Find a different area that's a little bit easier to ascend and descend. So yeah, I think enough about that. I think I had mentioned in a pre-race update or maybe an FAQ that there was a sandy section and that I would try to do some timings on that. That section is between TA4 and HQ. And so I went out and I rode that yesterday, and I'm happy to report it was very rideable. I thought there'd be a hike-a-bike in there. Somebody's driven through there a few times, and it's packed down nice. So it was much faster than I expected. TA4 to HQ took me like about 50 minutes of moving time. I was not riding super hard, and I was setting CPs along the way. So just kind of keep that in mind for your timing tomorrow between TA4 and HQ, under an hour for me. Now, if you do that at the end of the day, that's going to be a little bit different experience, right, than if you ride that earlier part of the day. So TA4 to HQ or HQ to TA4, you'll have a choice on the order you do things, probably the more challenging of the surfaces for biking. So keep that in mind as you're planning your time. Related to bike surfaces, use map number 1 in your packet to understand the road surfaces. So it's a county bike map for Clark County, and that will show whether the road is paved or unpaved. So keep that in mind. It's very helpful. Every map I include in the packet is there for a reason. So don't toss it aside thinking that you don't need it. It also kind of gives you a nice overview of the race course. Oh, related to maps, I think I put this in the update as well, but just a reminder, you're going to get a Ziploc bag with one set of maps in there. Everybody gets the same stuff. There will also be a punch card, clue card, I guess I'll call it a punch card, in that packet that you'll use for the prologue. So just make sure you grab that out and have that ready for the start. If you ordered extra maps, those are going to be in the manila envelope. So don't worry if you look at your Ziploc bag and you're like, we only have one set, the extra set or sets that you order in the manila envelope. So in your goodie bag, for those of you who didn't opt out of a shirt, your shirts are in there. If the size does not fit, the shirts, by the way, are like safety yellow. So if you don't have a bright colored shirt to wear, it's not mandatory, but it sure makes you a lot easier to see on the road. I'd recommend that, along with your flashing taillight. Don't forget to have those taillights on your bike tomorrow. That is a hint. We are checking for equipment. So that's a big hint. Make sure you've got those. Anyway, shirts, if they don't fit, we've got a few extra ones so you can swap sizes. Or if you did not order a shirt and you would like one, we will have some shirts available for $20, basically our cost. And you can pay by cash or Venmo. So we'll have those available too. A couple more tips on the maps. Make sure that you pay attention to the scale on the map. So I have 1 to 10, 1 to 15, and 1 to 24,000, and then a supplementary map that has its own scale. So as you're moving from map to map, even on the bike maps, the scale might be different and the spacing between the contour lines might be different. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you are aware of what you're looking at and the distances there. Let's see, I think I'm winding down here. So post-race, please plan to hang out, share some stories, connect with old friends, and make some new ones. We've got pretty cool space at the chalet. Hopefully the rain holds off and can hang out at the fire pits and maybe make some s'mores and that kind of thing. So I think that is all. Safe travels to all of you. We will see you in the morning. I will be checking email, but I might not be super responsive. So worst case, connect with me in the morning if you have any questions or changes. So I may be out in the field a little bit today and not checking email quite as much as normal. So, all right, that's it. Can't wait for you to get here. We'll see you all tomorrow.